embark on the Great Canadian Farm Tour, it is important to acknowledge that we are on the traditional lands of Indigenous peoples. Agriculture in the Classroom Canada recognizes and honors the enduring presence of the diverse Indigenous communities across Canada, including the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. We acknowledge the deep connection that Indigenous peoples have to the land, waters, resources, and all of agriculture. We express our gratitude for their stewardship and custodianship of these lands for generations. Agriculture in the Classroom Canada recognizes that acknowledging the traditional territories we reside and work on is only a small step towards reconciliation. We ask that we all continue to learn more about the Indigenous peoples in these regions, to consider the history and ongoing colonialism on this land, to reflect on how each of us can contribute to reconciliation. Hello, bonjour! Welcome everyone to our next stop on Season 5 of the Great Canadian Farm Tour. Bienvenue à tous à notre prochain arrêt de la saison 5 de la Grande Tournée des Fermes Canadiennes. We are so excited to have everyone join us today from across Canada. Nous sommes ravis que vous soyez tous là aujourd'hui venus de partout au Canada. My name is Mercedes from Agriculture in the Classroom Canada, and I'll be your MC for today. Je m'appelle Mercedes d'Agriculture en Classe Canada et je serai votre maître de cérémonie aujourd'hui. Before we get started, we just wanted to provide a few reminders. For those who want to follow along in French, please use the Boost Lingo link provided in the chat to access the interpreting services provided for today. We ask that everyone is mindful that this is an educational event, so inappropriate conduct happening, such as spamming or improper comments, will not be tolerated. Throughout the tour, we welcome you to post your questions in the chat to get them answered. We'll answer as many questions as possible. The mystery word for your student activity books will appear at the end of this episode, so please stick around. Students' fun learning will be happening that can be written in your student activity books, which will be shared during the brain break. Finally, we'd love to know where everyone is joining us from. Please share your school and location. Now, we'd like to welcome our next tour host of the Great Canadian Farm Tour, Brad from Exploits Meadow Farms in Bishop Falls, Newfoundland, and he also has an additional person with him, Navaline. Hi, Brad.
Good morning and good afternoon, whichever part of the country you're in. Like you mentioned, my name is Brad. I'm a co-owner of Exploits Meadow Farms here in Bishops Falls, Newfoundland, where we primarily farm sheep for lamb. Also,
Wonderful.
I'd also
Oh,
like to take this opportunity, sorry,
go
to
ahead.
introduce Navaline, who you just mentioned. Navaline has been working here with us on the farm for basically as long as we have been in business. She's a great asset to us, and she's going to come along on the tour with us today.
Wow, thanks so much for telling us a little bit more about yourself and Navaline. Brad, is there anything else you could share about yourself and how both of you ended up getting into sheep farming?
Well, that's a long answer. I don't have a background in farming. My background is more hospitality. Um, but since getting into and creating this farm, I couldn't imagine doing or being anything else but a sheep farmer. Um, since joining this community, I've also been a part of many different committees and boards. One of which is AITC, or Agriculture in the Classroom, where we um, try to educate kids like the kids that are watching today about agriculture, and making them aware that there are so many different opportunities in the agricultural industry that they can be part of, whether it's sheep farming or um, driving the truck that the feed is delivered on, to being a livestock animal veterinarian. So yeah, the possibilities are endless. So.
Thanks for sharing us and telling us about how, you came into agriculture in very unconventional means where you just
Hmm.
navigated into it. So
Exactly.
it's always great to hear about that because myself, I am not born in agriculture. I navigated into it as well just by going to school and becoming a teacher. And I decided I want to apply that in a means of educating youth about agriculture. Now, Brad, before we get started, I was wondering if there was any local schools, individuals you'd like to say hello to.
Okay, actually, there are three schools The first one would be Helen Tuck Elementary here in Bishops Falls. Helen Tuck is our mentor school, and although we don't get to be there a lot these days, we certainly try to help whenever we can. The second is I'd like to make a shout out to Mrs. Shepherd and her kids at Kingsford Smith Elementary in Vancouver, British Columbia. Mrs. Shepherd being my sister. And thirdly, my two nephews, Will and Jack Hogan, who attend George Greenaway Elementary in Surrey, BC. And I know that they come here every summer to visit the farm, and they'd be excited to see us here today.
Thanks for doing those shout outs, Brad. I'll now take a quick leave and hand over the controls over to you and Navaline as you get started on this amazing tour of your farm. And then I'll be coming back periodically to share some of the questions being asked from students across Canada. So you'll see me coming back and forth. So Brad
Okay. Am I there?
Yeah, you're good to go.
Okay, good. So right now we're standing in our lambing barn. It's about 5,000 square feet here. As you come in the door right over here, fortunately, this tour is taking place just at the right time because we had a bunch of lambs born this week. The oldest being a week old, the youngest just 3 days. So as you enter the barn, the first thing we're going to do today is have a look at some of these lambs that are in our nursery area. Sometimes lambs, when they're born for different reasons, they need to have extra special care. So these lambs here are some of those lambs. This is a heated space, heated room where the lambs are kept nice and toasty warm. And then they also have access here to what we lovingly refer to as Nanny Grober. It is an automatic milking machine where the lambs have access to milk 24/7. Whenever they want to drink, they can just pop onto these um, nipples here and drink away. These lambs are, I would think, probably 3 or 4 days old. We'll exit. So,
As you're walking, Brad, I have a quick
yep,
question. How many
sure.
lambs are born to a mother at a time? And is there an
Well,
average number of lambs you get?
that is an excellent question. Our ewes or adult sheep are known for being excellent mothers. So they're Rideau Arcot breed, and they oftentimes have 3, 4, and in this case, in this particular group, there were 2 moms who had 5 lambs each. Our average is at 3. Um, so with that, of course, um, you know, it takes a lot of work because 5 lambs at once for 1 mom is a lot. So that's partially why, for example, some of the lambs in that nursery we were just visiting were into because, again, for a mom to properly feed 5 lambs at a time is a lot. So right over here is a second sort of nursery area. You can see here there are 2 observing windows in the room we were just standing in, so that when you're caring for animals in this room, you can still see clearly everything else that's happening in the barn. Those animals or those lambs that were in this room here are going to graduate to this area probably in a couple of more days. They all seem to be doing very, very well. And they're going to have access to that milk and that milk machine through these little holders over here on the wall.
Brad,
And they're
I have a question just
sure.
going on your thought process while you're talking about the lambs.
Yeah.
The students are wondering how come those little lambs had green marks on their backs?
Okay, excellent question again, and I knew that was going to be one of the one of the great many questions that they would have. And each of those lambs are marked according to their mother. So, Navaline, if you could just quickly shoot over here, you'll notice that the moms all are numbered. And this particular group of animals, there was 13 moms. So, as the lambs are born, each mom is given, okay, so of course, say number 3. She was the third sheep to have her babies. Each of her babies is marked number 3, and that's a livestock animal paint specially designed for doing just exactly this. Um, so that when the lambs are in this open setting with their moms and other animals, it's a quick reference for the farmer to say, okay, so that lamb right there, that lamb looks like it may need some care. Whose mom is it? Automatically, you'll know right away by the number system. It's a very simple but very effective way of managing who belongs to who. Um, Over here in the what we call lambing jugs, there's 2 animals here. There's one, number 13, and number 12 over here who are still with their babies. Those are called lambing jugs. So as the animal is delivering and she has her babies, they're kept in those jugs for 3 days. And that is a way of allowing the animals, the babies, to bond with their mom. After the 3 days is up, then they're released into what we call the nursery out here, where everybody stays together. Those animals, those lambs, we wanted to go around and have a quick look, Navaline, just at the lambs there in the jugs. They are only 3 days old. And keep in mind, the oldest animal, the oldest lamb in this group is 7 days old. So they grow very, very quickly. You can see some drinking from mom, drinking from mom. And here is this one, number 13. She was the last one born. And number 12.
Brad, we have a
So that,
great question coming in from Eva, who's wondering, are
okay.
sheep only white or do they come in other colors?
Well, excellent question. Thank you, Eva. They do come in many different colors, many different types of woolen fiber. These particular sheep have a really nice fleece. But if you can see right over here, Navaline, in some of the other sheep, maybe we can go over a little bit closer or right over here, you'll see some sheep with a very dark looking face. There are so many different breeds of sheep. We just have a couple of different breeds, mostly this breed, but we also have some of these gals. Shropshires, they have dark faces. They have a really thick, beautiful fleece. And there's another, although she looks similar, another sheep over here whose name is Lola, and she is a Hampshire. So yeah, they look completely different. And they're all just laying down and chewing their cud. Does anybody know what that means? Their cud?
As we're waiting for students to guess what cud means, let's bring up another
Hmm.
question to ask Brad as we're
Sure.
waiting to hear from students across Canada in response to that question. So just bring up a question in a couple seconds. So Piper
Hmm.
wants to know, what is their favorite food?
Their favorite food probably is their grain. They absolutely love grain. They're fed a special designed pellet of food twice a day. It's also mixed with some dried whole corn. They love that stuff, but they also really enjoy this hay that they have access to all day long. Also, which consists mostly of alfalfa. They really, really love alfalfa.
Wonderful. And we have a response in that one of the guesses around cud is that it's their food. And this is coming in from Heidi Corley. So what's the
Okay.
answer, Brad?
Yes, Heidi, you're absolutely right. It is actually it's the hay that they're eating because sheep are have they're ruminant animals, so they regurgitate. They chew and they eat and they regurgitate their hay all day long, and that's what they're doing when they're chewing like that. They've regurgitated um, some hay and they're chewing on it, and that keeps their stomach working properly. And when you look at a sheep and it's chewing its cud, it's doing okay. It's
Yeah.
happy.
One of the responses that actually goes along with what you're saying was that Leza says the cud is from the second stomach. That's what came
Exactly.
in. So we have
Yes.
some very smart students watching from across
I
Canada.
guess so.
Either current or future sheep farmers, I think.
Yes, exactly. Or maybe even hay growers.
We'll bring up one more question and then let Brad continue to keep us on a tour of this part of his barn. And Kitty wonders if they have four stomachs like cows.
Yes, they do.
And then
Yeah.
is there a specific purpose for all those different four stomachs, Brad?
Well, I'm sure that there is a very specific um, purpose for each stomach, but I'll just say that for now, it's just the way that they need to maintain their diet. I'm not, I'm not sure of all of the reasons. Maybe
Well,
we can find that out for certain.
yeah, I think that's a great challenge to students across
Yes,
Canada to see
yes,
what's the difference between a human needing only one stomach and why potentially sheep and cows have four stomachs. So I
exactly.
challenge all of you to look that up and let us know. Now, let's hand it back over to Brad. We'll keep going with a couple more minutes in this barn before we go into our commercial break. So, Brad, feel free to finish your final thoughts you want to share about the sheep in here.
Okay, so these sheep, for example, here are going to be with their lambs are going to be with their moms for approximately 60 days. During that time, they will continue to feed from their moms, although they do um, they do start to nibble on the hay and stuff, which is exactly what you want. Um, the lambs in the room over there are going to be joining this group uh, again in about another month or so. So everybody will be together. Uh, we do have a couple of different groups here. For example, these animals here are sheep or lambs that were born about 5, 6 months ago. So if you can imagine from this to this in approximately 5 or 6 months is how quickly they actually grow. It's amazing, really. And down here on the end are all of the dads. These are the fellas that helped create those all those lambs. So that is their job. That's all they have to do. And otherwise, they just lay around and sometimes they fight with each other. But that's it. That's all they do. Um, let's see here. I don't know if you noticed those green objects over here. Does anybody know what those are?
As we're waiting to hear back from students across Canada around what they believe the green objects are, I'm also going to challenge them to respond to another question. How long do they think sheep are pregnant for? So you have two questions.
Okay.
What are the green objects and how long are sheep pregnant for? And while we're waiting for those responses, we're going to ask Brad a question. How much do adult sheep weigh? Is there a difference with and without the wool?
Oh, definitely, definitely. The wool adds a couple of pounds. Our sheep are shorn twice a year. So right now they were just shorn back in, I think it was September. Um, but and again, it depends on the breed of the sheep. Some are smaller, some are bigger. Our sheep generally range around 180 to 200 pounds. The rams, maybe 300.
Wow. And now we have some guesses coming in for you, Brad, around
Okay.
what the green object is. And someone mentioned that they believed it was salt licks. And then
Um,
another student guessed waterers as the other option. So
okay,
what's the
so
answer to
so
that
so
question, Brad?
so one of the two are correct. They are waterers, and they're thermal, so that all winter long, because we do, of course, get cold, snowy winters here in Newfoundland. Um, and although the barn is insulated, is not heated, but those thermal waterers will um, will not freeze all winter long. They have access to clean, fresh drinking water, which is absolutely important, and it saves us, the farmers, a lot of headaches because otherwise you're working with frozen buckets and frozen water. So those are fantastic.
Oh, that's well done for Selena, who I guessed that was so Elke who guessed it was a waterer. So
Okay.
and then we have another one coming in who also guessed water, but in response to the question how long they're pregnant for, we have a couple guesses. So Karen Gardner's class is guessing 6 months. We have Miss Thorson's class who's guessing 2 to 4, and then another class which is saying pregnant for 5. So what's the right answer,
Mm,
Brad?
pregnant for 5, 147 days.
Now, that's amazing. So what we'll do
Yep.
is do one more question with Brad before we go into our commercial break, and then Brad will transition over to his farm store. So our last question before the commercial break is from a grade 3 class in Riverton, Nova Scotia. Carson is wondering how many sheep are on your farm?
Excellent question, Carson. We generally keep a flock of around 100, been up to about 120 in the past of adult moms or ewes. But it depends on the time. If you count the lambs that are born, usually there's a total of around 200 or more animals here any given time.
What a great question. And now we'll head into our commercial break and be back with Brad in a couple minutes. So we'll see you all in a couple minutes.
Okay, thank you.
And we're back with Brad, who's right in front of his farm store. I saw him hurrying over within the 2 minutes and he made it.
We made it. We
So
made it. This is sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm handing the controls over to you, Brad, to finish
Okay,
showing us on your farm.
for sure. Okay, so here we are standing in front of our farm store. And just to give you a little bit of perspective of sort of the farm here and how things are laid out, Evelyn, do you want to just do a quick scan across? Our store is here. Um, the lamb barn, which we were just standing in, is directly behind that store. We live over here. There's another barn up here where we have sort of some uh, pet animals or fun time animals like some ponies and alpacas and different things, but they're just for fun. Um, and so everything is very, very close. It works well that way. So let's go in. So here we are in the store. So part of farming, of course, is where we were in the lamb barn and looking after the animals and enjoying all of that stuff. However, or in addition to that, though, there is the retail side of things. So this is where we sell our product that we're growing and creating. So um, here we have different things from different local vendors, but we have the finished product, so to speak, over here in our cooler, which is the lamb that people love and enjoy, and is a very healthy and nutritious protein. We also do all of that stuff ourselves. So we raise them, we grow them, and we process them and package them as such, the final product. So it's a full circle. It's a full circle industry here on the farm. We raise them, we grow them, we package them, and we sell them. So um, Evelyn, right out there, like we mentioned, is the lamb barn. So it's very, very close to where we're standing again. Um, but in addition to the protein side of things, there's also the wool that we were talking about earlier. So um, we have made or created these wonderful woolen blankets from our own sheep's fiber. So the animals that we were just uh, visiting with, like I mentioned, are shorn twice a year, and we collect all this wool and then we ship it off, and we have these blankets made. So it's just another way of adding to your business with the meat, the fiber, um, all kinds of different things. So we also make pet treats.
We have this question coming in from
Sure.
a Miss Boker's class, her kindergarten grade 1 class, and
Mhm.
Isabella wonders, so you talked about wool and meat, but can you milk sheep?
Excellent question, Isabella. And in fact, yes, you can. Again, different breeds of sheep are going to produce different levels of milk. Um, our sheep, in particular, uh, have very big udders, and they produce a lot of milk, partially because they're inclined to have multiple babies. Some sheep, like the dark-faced ones that we saw over in the barn, generally only have a lamb or two at a time, and so their udders genetically are much smaller. They don't produce as much because it's not necessary for them to produce as much. But sheep like the other Rideau Arcot, who produce 4 or 5 lambs at a time, produce a lot of milk. No, we don't milk our sheep as such, but you could. There's a lot of it.
We have a couple more questions coming in before we wrap up, Brad, and
Mhm.
we're coming in from a grade 3 class, and they're wondering, how much wool would you get from one sheep?
You are going to get generally, depends on how long they had been, depends on how long they hadn't been shorn for. So on a 1 year's fleece, you're looking at around 4 or 5 pounds of wool.
Okay, that's a wonderful
Yeah.
question, and
Excellent questions today.
we'll do one more question before we wrap up with Brad. So our last question coming in from students, and I'm putting a little pressure on our back end support, but coming in again from Madame Boker's class, Ira wonders, can sheep swim? And this is kind of a fun question. I'd wonder it too.
Well, you know what? That's an excellent question to challenge because I have no idea. My sheep have never had the opportunity, but I would love to know the answer to that if it was ever discovered.
That's a fantastic question. So,
Yeah.
Ira, please go look that up and let us know. Don't test it on a live sheep, but see if someone
No.
else has tested it already and
Yes,
it's already
exactly.
in Google. So, Brad, thank you so much for doing this tour with us today. Is there any final words you'd like to share with everyone who's watching from across Canada?
Well, first of all, thank you. It was my pleasure. Anytime we get to talk about agriculture and get some young people involved is a time well spent. Um, we hope that we've inspired at least one person today to think about agriculture, to go home and talk about agriculture, to understand how important the agricultural industry is. Everybody needs to eat. We need farmers. We need people who support the farmers. It's a great and inclusive community, and I would encourage anybody who felt that way to follow their dreams. So
Yes, thank you for sharing that, Brad. I think both of us are testaments of following our dreams because we both work in agriculture and
yes,
didn't start in it.
exactly.
Um, I hoped everyone learned something new today. I know I did. And before we close off this episode and thank everyone for waiting patiently, I'm excited to share that the word today is pantry for your mystery word sentence. So it goes in number 6, the word pantry, or garde manger en français. So this is a good word for today's
Mhm.
tour. Pantry. So, thank you again for Brad for joining us on this episode of the Great Canadian Farm Tour. And our next stop will be tomorrow, November 26th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and we're going to a Dulce Farm in New Brunswick. So we're keeping it on the East Coast.
Excellent.
Um, we look forward to seeing you all there, and goodbye for now, or à
Okay.
bientôt.
A
Bye,
bientôt.
everyone.
Bye bye.